Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Oxygen for the Soul. This week's parasha is Perashat Tessaveh, and it is a familiar parasha because it's the first parasha where we do not see Moshe's name being mentioned. And we know that there's a special idea that when a tzaddik says something, he said, Emched, Shemi, if you destroy the Jewish people, erase my name. And therefore, even though that's not what his intention was, he just wanted to protect the Jewish people, some element of what the tzaddik says has to come true. And in this week's parasha, we do not see any mention of the name Moshe, although there are several allusions to his name. We know that if you take the last letters of Moshe, and you take out the way the letters are spelled, you have the gematria of 101. There are 101 psukim in this week's parasha, so even though he's not mentioned, there's some type of a correlation to Moshe. And there's lots of ideas of how Moshe is involved in the parasha and so on and so forth. But what I want to do is I want to kind of like jump ahead and not go through all the vestments that are mentioned in the parasha, which are all fascinating and deep. But I want to kind of highlight a special part of this Shabbat. This Shabbat is called a Shabbat Zachor, right? It's a special Shabbat where we read the Shabbat before Purim. We read about the Amalek. It's a mitzvah actually to hear this. Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek. It's a mitzvah deoraita to hear these words being said and to spend a moment in synagogue to remember what this group of people did. Now, this whole concept of remembering something is a fascinating one. In Judaism, in Hebrew, there's no real word for history. I know you're thinking in Hebrew historia, but historia is actually just an English word for history. The closest thing you'll find for history in Hebrew is the word zachor, is remembrance. And we as Jews don't think of history as his story, somebody else's story, but we're often thinking about zachor as, it's our story. It's something that you and I share with one another. And this is important. The month that we're in right now, the month of Adar, is the last Hebrew month of the calendar year. That's right. Rosh Chodesh Nisan is the beginning of the new year. And as we're ending this month, preparing for Purim and segueing very quickly into Pesach, which, by the way, Pesach is 4 weeks away from Monday. So that's kind of scary. That's going to happen very, very quick. You have something like almost less than 40 shopping days left for Pesach. No pressure. And one of the things that we do in preparation is this thing called Zachor. We're getting ready for this idea of us sitting and remembering the fact that this group of people attacked us. So let's just double click and figure out what exactly we're remembering. Pasuk says, Zachor t'asher asa lecha Amalek. Be mindful, remember of that which Amalek did to you, baderech, on the way, b'tzetchem mitzrayim, when you left Egypt. Asher karcha baderech, right? That they happened to, chance upon you. Vayizanev b'cha kol hanechlashim acharecha v'ata yafigesh, right? Your people were weak. The people in the back, the people in the end were tired, and you were parched, you were thirsty, you were exhausted from your travels. Okay, and they came hunting for you. They came and they tried to, below your chalkim, and they tried basically. They did not fear God. They wanted to go to wage war with you. So this is what the pasuk says. Then it continues. It says, "V'haya b'haniach Hashem Elokecha lecha mikol oivecha misaviv ba'aretz asher Hashem Elokecha noten lecha nachla l'rishta timcha et zecher Amalek mitachat ha'shamayim lo tishkach." Okay, well, God, He gives you, He gave us all this relief, maniach. He gave us this rest from all the surrounding enemies in the land. Which God is going to give us as an inheritance, right? And therefore, we have to destroy, this is a very difficult mitzvah, we have to destroy every single man, woman, child belonging to Amalek. You got to erase any reminder of Amalek from beneath the skies. Don't forget, right? So there's two things here. One is Zachor, to remember, and the other one is Lo Tishkach, don't forget. And this is fascinating. Why are we remembering these people? Who are these people? Why are they so terrible? This is a very harsh description of just obliterating a nation. It's like genocide over here. Is that what the Torah wants? What is the issue here? How do we understand this? And this is what I want to speak about today. So Rashi tells us two different ideas of how you have to think about Amalek. One is it's like a bee. Amalek is the kind of people that will sting you with their stinger and they'll die. Or another one is that Amalek is the kind of people that will jump into a boiling hot vat of water to cool it down so that others can come in afterwards. And what we hear the Midrashim are saying is that Amalek's purpose was to cool the world down from their excitement about what the Jews were trying to push to the world. Now let's just take a step back again, okay? The Jewish people are coming out of Egypt, right? They're finished with Mitzrayim. They're finally free. They saw the miracles. They see God speaking to them, and the world is trembling because they have this super-powered slave army that escaped Egypt somehow, and they're decimating all of their foes, and now everyone's afraid. No one wants to touch them. So in order for Amalek to help the world overcome their fear of the Jewish people, what do? They attack, knowing it's a suicide mission. That's why they're like to be. When you have, it's funny, like it's such a crazy thing. If you saw someone jumping into a volcano, right, where it's got flowing lava coming out of it, right, and you see this guy jump in, you pull the body out, his body is scorched, it's charcoal, there's nothing left of him, he's just completely, incinerated, would you want to jump in after him? And the answer is no, absolutely not. So what did Amalek actually do? Who was it that Amalek was actually coming after? And it wasn't about cooling the world down. It was about cooling the Jews down. If I could get into my enemy's head and convince them that, hey, there's nothing special about you. There's no superpower here. There's no special abilities that you have. You're like everybody else. We'll attack you like everybody else. Let's cool the Jews down in their belief. That's tremendous amount of chutzpah. And by the way, this is what Chachamim tell us is the power of the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara will find, this is we believe as Jews that we are constantly in battle with these two forces. On the one hand, there's a part of me that wants to wake up and it wants me to be super successful. I want to get up, I want to succeed, I want to grow, I want to build, I want to read, I want to develop, I want to understand. And there's another part of us that says, oh, I'm so tired. It's so difficult, Rabbi. I can't. It's too hard. I'm challenged. It's too much for me. The part of you that doesn't want to accomplish is the lowest part of who you are, right? That's the animal self. That is your Yetzer Ra. That's when you make bad choices. The part of you that wants you to explode and grow and build and achieve and accomplish, that is your Yetzer Tov. That is your positive inclination. Now, what you are able to identify with determines whether or not those things are positive or negative. So here you have a nation, right, called Amalek. Now, Amalek, we know Gematria is 240. And we know it's the same exact Gematria as Safek. We also know which is doubt, right? And therefore, Amalek's focus is to bring doubt into the world. There's another number that is related to Ram. And this quote, by the way, is such a powerful quote. Remember, to forget something isn't easy, right? Like you have to be very, very, clumsy to forget. What's that? So the idea of forgetfulness is really an expression of something else. And this is a very deep idea. Okay, I want you to think about this because this is going to sound harsh. This is a quote from Rabbi Lamb. And he says that an absent mind is the result of a swelled head. An absent mind is the result of a swelled head, which basically means that people that forget are arrogant. You're arrogant in thinking that, you won't need to remember. You're arrogant in thinking that there is no consequences for not putting in the effort and the energy to remember something. You have a swelled head. In Hebrew, we say ram, right, which is an expression of haughtiness, to be ram, to be big. Ram levavav, a swelled heart. Okay, Ram in Hebrew is the same gematria as Amalek, is 240. Arrogance ends up destroying human beings. Oh, in America, we're the most powerful nation in the world. America's weakness is our arrogance, right? I'll say this, I hate talking about politics, but Donald Trump's weakness is his arrogance, right? With all the good that he wants to do, his arrogance is what destroys him. Arrogance is a super destructive. Arrogance leads to forgetfulness. It leads to us having a swelled head. So what can we do to protect ourselves? Zachor, remember, my friends. Find the humility to open yourself up, to remember, to put in the effort to be mindful, to erase the things that are trying to get in the way of you accomplishing greatness. This is the most amazing story to be a part of. You and I are part of the Jewish people. We're telling a story this week, Parashat Zachor, a descendant of Amalek, Haman, right? He is a descendant of Amalek. He comes into the scene and he hates Mordechai. Why? Mordechai won't bow down to me. He's not going to bow down to me. And not only am I going to destroy Mordechai, I'm going to destroy the whole entire of the Jewish people all at once, one day. Right? And what ends up happening? Venahapachu. The whole entire story flips upside down. This is the special power of the month of Adar that you and I are living in right now. The month is a month that has the potential in it to change all mazalot. You can change all decrees in this month. But the question to you, my friends, is what's holding you back from being the best you? You know what it is? It's your swelled head, the arrogance, and thinking that I don't have to put any more effort. I'm okay. I'm good. I'm comfortable. It's all working in my favor. I'm okay. I'll survive by doing less. I'll lean on my natural talents. This is a mistake. The month of Adar, the Parsha of Zachor, is a call to action. Are you willing to get up and put in the effort, the energy to build yourself, to develop the best possible you, to accomplish what you could never accomplish, what you thought you could never accomplish? That's what this is. This is a call to action. Zachor, remember. Asher Asalcha. What did Amalek do? They caused you to lose faith in yourself. You don't believe in yourself anymore. The month of Adar is to remind you, Venapachu, it could all change around. Forget about what you think. I said this before, it's worth repeating. Okay, ready? By the time a child is 20 years old, he has heard something like 20,000 words of praise, which sounds very nice, but is the sad part. 73% of those praises were given to him up until the age of 5. Which means there's only 25% was shared for 15 years, which is not a very good ratio if you think about it. Well, what does that do to a kid's self-esteem? What does it do to us? How much of our own story holds us back from being the best us? So Amalek isn't just a story about a people with a perverted philosophy and ideology, a group of people that are willing to die to take away the truth and the luster of another group of people, right? The people that are willing to become suicide bombers, to destroy another group of people for their beliefs, not willing to engage in conversation and thought, not willing to open themselves up to the potential of new ideas. It's my way or the highway. This is a expression of arrogance, a swelled head. Parashat Zachor, as we read it over here, yes, we remember what Amalek did. What did they actually do? They attacked us unprovoked. We did nothing to them. Our existence provokes them. This is what all anti-Semites will say. The mere existence of a Jew provokes them. Like Hitler said in Mein Kampf, I hate the Jews because they brought consciousness onto man's soul and circumcision on man's body. They hate the fact that we brought morality and spirituality to the world. Why? Because they have the arrogance in thinking that man should make his own decisions. He's an animal. He could live like an animal. Allow yourself to just give into your base nature. As Jews, we reject this idea. We reject the idea that I could do whatever I want. That's not real freedom. Freedom is living in a world with rules, a construct that allows us to become the best, greatest versions of ourselves. That's what this parsha is about. Zachor, we remember in the month of Adar because we have the power of changing our arrogance, to find a little bit of humility, to learn, to remember who we are. It's like that famous scene in The Lion King where Simba is crying and he doesn't know what to do, and he's looking at the river, and all of a sudden you have this storm coming out, and Simba and Mufasa's in the cloud, and he says, Simba, remember who you are. I love that scene because that scene is for us. We would be accomplishing 1,000 times more every single day if you were aware of what you truly are. Do you know what you are? Are you ready? You are an infinite soul with infinite potential. you could accomplish anything. And the reason why you don't is because you've learned this horrible behavior, you've forgotten what it means to be you. You become arrogant. I'm too comfortable with where I am. And I don't want you to settle. I want you to know that you could always strive for greatness. There is no time where you give up hope. There is no, it's too late, I'm sorry, game over. It's a farce. Jews can walk tall and proud, walking into gas chambers, singing Shema Yisrael. How do they do that? Where does that spiritual power come from? It comes from this deeper understanding that this, my friends, is not the end. But like we say, Havodah merubah ve'azman mukutzar, the work is plentiful, but the time is little. And the issue is that people don't recognize that there's so much value to our time. Every minute is so precious. There are gems of opportunities of good that you and I can be bringing into the world. But we forget what we're really here for. We forget, right? We have shchichacha, right? Shchichacha, we forget. Shchichacha means forgetfulness, right? Yeah, shchichacha means forgetfulness. You have a world of people who have forgotten the truest parts of their essence and their being. And this week's Parashat Zachor, before we get into Pesach, before you're able to even experience what it means to be truly free, you first have to buy into this idea that you got to remember who you really are inside. What is it? What does the best part of you look like? Have you given up? Have you surrendered? Or are you willing to still fight the fight? Are you willing to tap into the special supernatural power of the month of Adar, of Benahapachu, that we could change our mazalot? We could change our fortune in an instant. The Gemara says, if there's a sword on your neck, don't give up hope. There's no group of people on the planet that are more hopeful than Jews. Fact. We have every reason to be very skeptical and cynical of everything that's happening in the world today. But the reason why our families can sing songs of hope, we could sing a Shalom Aleichem, we want to bring peace into a world of insanity, because we recognize that the potential of change is always there. And therefore the month of Adar is a reminder that God is hidden behind the mask. The world, Olam, is the same letter as Ne'elam, which means hidden. God is hiding behind the very veil of all the challenge that you and I are going through in life. And if we're able to see beyond them, or pull the mask away, or pull the curtain away, you'll be looking at an infinite being that has your best interests at heart at every step of the way, in a way that you can't begin to imagine. You talk about love, which went infinity. I'm not talking about our finite understanding of love. I'm talking about infinite love. Yes. It's there for you. It's waiting for you. And the only thing this infinite being that loves so much wants for us is to make the right choices, not to do stupid things, not to follow someone jumping into a boiling vat of hot water just to cool it off. He wants us to remember who we are. He wants us to recognize that there's infinite potential in us because we are created Tselem Elokim. Just like God is infinite, we have a piece of infinity inside of us. And the only way you and I could tap into that power and that energy is with our choices. So I don't care what you did up until now. It doesn't matter to me where you are right now. That's not in my control. The only thing that isn't in your control is what you're going to do today, what you're going to do tomorrow. So ignore what was and use this time to remember who you are. Remember who Amalek was and what that represents spiritually, a group of people that were bent on preserving status quo. They did not want to take responsibility to grow spiritually. And the month of Adar is a super powerful month of spiritual development and growth. In preparation for Pesach, we spend time by clarifying and identifying with the highest parts of our essence and our being. And through this, we win the war against Amalek by never forgetting, by being proactively working on our humility, by leaving our swelled head behind and finding the time and the effort to instill the highest levels of values, to work on being better moral people, to be proactively bringing good into the world by trying our best to do what is right. Stop being so narcissistic and only worrying about yourself and start either feeding yourself spiritually or feeding others. I believe this is what Parashat Zachor is about, and I think it's so appropriate, especially with what's happening in the world today, with all the challenge that we're faced with, and all the challenge I think is coming down the pipeline. I want to remind you, my friends, irrespective of what's going to happen, you have the power and the ability to overcome it. Your challenges are an expression of God's desire to give you more good. Lean into them and become great. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom. Never forget how beautiful you truly are. Sending you a lot of love.